is might be very different than what Matt's is. And I can promise you that my definition of fun and Seth's are totally antithetical. Actually, yeah, probably not, but I don't know. So where we come from with that is that by going back to those basic values, it helps you figure out how to, once again, look at somebody else and what they're doing, and maybe understand where they're coming from, and why you may or may not resonate with what they're saying and doing. That's the purpose for having that. Once you do that, then you're able to understand their intercultural perspective that they're coming to this with. Okay? And I'll remind you, we had the 5 dimensions that they talk about. And these are a company's dimensions. They do that to make it easier for people to access. I gave you the academic content, that's the very highbrow, pocket collar. But the truth of the matter is, if you're in an international setting, many companies will use this content, so you'll have a head start with it. So that's one of the reasons why we selected it. So they are independent versus interdependent. Now, what do you think those are? Can you give me some examples of what those might be? Independent versus interdependent.
If you'd rather do something by yourself than with like a group.
If you'd rather do something by yourself versus a group. That's a very good first example. Second example. That's exactly right, by the way. It doesn't mean it's not right. What else might be interdependent versus independent?
Could it also be like an independent skill versus interdependent, like mixing a bunch of different skills in one?
Well, and this is about the way people see the world. These dimensions
so are. You just seeing,
So
yeah.
some skills are independent, and some cultures have more independent skills and versus independent skills. So that's true because of how they see the world and what they need to be able to react to those cultures. Okay, so that's a good second. Third, anything else? One of the things that plays into this, remember 351 is all about how we kind of make decisions. Decision making, independent, I'm doing what's good for me. Everything I do is going to reflect the others that I'm around. It's that kind of a culture. Okay? Remembering that the United States on independent and interdependent is right here. So step up. This is interdependent and this is independent. Stand on this. Come on, get up, move in here. Stand on where you are on the scale. I'm the United States, and I am smack in the middle of those two.
This says
That's not a
US.
Yeah. Mine says US is
Independent.
Very well done. That's exactly right. So it's here is the United States. What does that mean? The United States is typically what? This is independent. Oh my God, it's independent.
Okay.
We have the Declaration of Independence. Don't forget that. Good catch. I wanted to see if you guys were awake. Okay, I'm right here. The middle is where I was showing, where my program is. This is the United States. I'm sorry. You want to just throw things at it?
Oh, no.
Okay, so do you see where y'all are in this? The difference between y'all is substantial, and none of you are where the United States is. Your values don't match the United States consensus values or collective values. Substantially not. And that's got to do partially with the kinds of things that we set up as what it means to be in this program. So recognizing that when you leave here, when you go into work, where do you think the people you're working with are going to be? If this is where the core of the United States populace is. And what do you need to do if this is how you function? If this is what they expect? And what drives their decisions. Think about that from where you're sitting right now. Take a look at who your peers are on the team with Steve Jobs right now. To see about that. Think about who your group is. So how are you going to come to your collective agreements? See what I'm saying? Okay? So, jobs. When you looked at it, you looked at your job. One of the things that I asked you to do when you created your profile was to identify where you thought you were working. Take a moment to think about how you fall compared to the work that you think you're going to pursue on this scale. The United States, where's the work? You might want to carry it with you so you can see it, because I think that that's valuable to see. I was going to get you to come up and get down each time. You stay put, though. It's not fair.
Do you want me to be here? I'll be you. Okay, you sit down and you just
She'll take care
Can
of
we
it.
take a turn around?
Look at the job, one of the things I asked you to do is to compare yourself to the type of profession you're in. Now, no, I'm saying, look at it for yourself. Where is the profession compared to the other?
Mine
I mean, I would see out experience, it's like over there. so
everything
like-
else because of
I think mine,
More professional.
No, we're doing like.
Here's what we're doing, guys. Listen. Physically, I'm gonna stand where the US is. You're gonna stand where you are, and then I want you to reflect on where your profession is. You don't have to move, I just want you to reflect on where your profession is compared to you and the United States. Okay? So that the point is that this helps you understand how you will reflect and relate to those people you'll be working with, potentially. It will also help you reflect and relate to how you and your profession relate to the rest of the country, and understanding yourself in that bigger context. Because when you're in social media, you don't have a clue how you relate to the rest of the world. And if you want to make a change, you need to not just make change and be able to communicate and engage with people like you. This is an example of it. So, I'm going to be where the US is, you're going to be where you are, and then you're going to look to see where your profession is. And reflect on it. That's all. Just reflect on it to know what you think.
It's like a rally of your thoughts.
In your own thoughts for a minute.
We're still doing independent, or we're doing the next?
We're still on independent right now. So with that said, what do you think you can expect out of your profession as an environment based on this scale? Give me an example of what's your profession.
I'm in the legal profession, but they're more in the middle, I guess, which is kind of shocking because I figure like most attorneys are real independent people and don't want to work with other people.
However, most attorneys are bound by the law,
Yeah.
which is about interdependence. And the whole point of the law, and mind you, I bet it's not way over here though, is it right around in here?
I mean, it's pretty, it's the purple one.
Yeah, it's right in the middle, sort of. And the point of that is it acknowledges that that computer is the middle. It acknowledges that the legal profession has an independent streak, but the law itself is making it so that we can survive as a society, and the law takes precedence over that independent streak. But if it was purely about everybody, it'd be way over there. The law is balanced by, I'm making sure that I can do my best to get this one person the best shot in this, no matter how it impacts society. Hence, in the middle. Do you see what we're saying? That the whole profession as a culture has been set up with that value system, and it reflects it in their responses. You get what we're doing? How about you? What's your job?
I'm going into PR, and I was surprised because it's swayed like very slightly into interdependence. It's more in the middle than I thought it was going to be.
And what did you expect it to be? More interdependent?
Yeah, more interdependent.
But again, PR folks have to be up there as a cult of personality. So the people coming in, while they know that they're trying to influence people, it's for independent purposes. The purposes are not shared. That's partially the point of independent versus dependent. The purpose is a shared purpose. How about you, Tim?
So I'm a finance major, and they're both really in the middle. Like, I'm more independent, and it's a slightly more interdependent. So I'm like pretty close with it.
But ultimately, the project, it's still right there near the center. Okay, now what would be interesting to me is what's the difference about these professions in the US versus these other countries. That's the thing that isn't clear. So I do think some of that will be more independent. So if you're an American, and you want to work in America, and you see it's close, you can know that your field will skew a little bit more independent. Making sense? So the point is, vocations and workplaces have cultures. Second, egalitarian versus status. Egalitarian versus status. This is the middle. Egalitarian's over here, and status is over there, and the U.S. is over here. We're not all the way at that end, but we're more about egalitarian than status. Okay? You see where you are versus the U.S. So almost all of you are status. Here's a helpful hint. College has always been about preparing people for privilege. This is a reflection of pursuit of privilege.
Wait, I thought this meant that everybody was on the other side.
I mean, this is egalitarian.
Egalitarian, I am egalitarian,
This is,
but.
this is egalitarian
Not as far
US,
as
that's
US.
50%.
Yeah.
And you see where Mr. Seth is. Seth is dipped in from day one when I met Seth, he was dipped and died in doing what was best for as many as possible, which is why you were on that side. He's been in business school for a little while, people. He's been in B school. So ultimately, that explains this. What's your profession? Where's your profession compared to you are right now?
Right,
You're right in the same place. What was your profession?
well, I put research and development, research on that.
So it's research. Did you hear that? Research. So often in higher ed, especially, the point of that is to create a more egalitarian. And you hear social justice in higher ed all the time. People are always talking about that higher ed elites. The faculty and the researchers within that often are about a social justice agenda. That's not uncommon, especially when you make it the world and not just the U.S. Okay, how about you way over on the other side?
So my, I guess I'm a religious institution as my thing, and it's like pretty far away from here.
Because those values are and yet your status piece is over here.
Yeah.
But you're interested in being a faculty member for the notion of religious studies, right?
Yeah.
So technically it's your field of interest, but that's not your real field. Did anybody have faculty member? I'll look that up and we'll talk about that, because I've got mine, and we can see if there's a difference. Because it wouldn't surprise me if, because faculty world is very status oriented. You've got instructors to full professors. You don't make a lot of money, but you have a lot of status, titles. So it wouldn't surprise me if that's, you're more consistent with that than. But your subject of interest, you're not there. So you need to recognize that difference is going to play out in your interactions when you're researching. How about you, Katie? What's yours?
Mine is health professions, and it's like, I'm like dead smack in the middle, but health professions is like slightly to the
More
egalitarian
egalitarian.
side, which makes sense because like the oath is like do no harm and like take care of everyone the same. So, but I guess part of like the status piece is like, there's very like hierarchical, I don't know how to say it, order, in like a hospital setting, so
So it's present.
yeah, it's present, but it's not like the main thing.
And here's the other thing to realize. Being that this is a world set of participants giving their information, don't forget the rest of the world has free healthcare. It's socialized medicine.
I got
Which is
over here.